Hi, I'm Tony Constantine, an investment advisor representative with Lifemark Securities Corp. The views that I share with you today are mine only and do not necessarily reflect the views of Lifemark Securities Corp. We are in an election year, and we are approaching the cycle where the people who are sitting on the fence currently don't sort of know which way to go. And many of them will follow some myth about the market and the presidency and vote accordingly. I'm afraid that that is the wrong thing to do. Uh, Simply because of this. Several years ago, in one newspaper, which I won't name, I saw a story about the market in the presidential race in the political parties. The journalist purported and gave the statistics. So it was proven that in the first 6 months after the election, if a Democrat won, the market went up more often and actually went up a little bit higher than it did for Republicans if the Democrat was elected. Does that mean? Well, let's take a look at what that actually means. We'll count, shall we? In the first 6 months, 6 months is the equivalent of 1/8 of a presidential term of office, term being 4 years, and there are 8 6-month periods, end to end, within that 4 years. Well, that tells us what happened in the first 6 months. And remember, my prediction for this election is the same it is for every election. When the election is over the half of the voting public will be happy, and the rest will not. Okay? I think that's borne out ever since George Washington was elected. Right. Okay. See, I'm betting 1,000. But the sad thing is that what happens in the first month is only 1/8 of the time that the president is in office. So what happens the other 7/8 of the time? Well, this particular article didn't say anything about the other 7/8 of the time, which I thought was unusual. Why not? Well, either they couldn't find the records, which today's day and age I find a little difficult to believe, or the result did not bear out the narrative that they wanted to present. So they didn't go there. They just told you what happened in the first 6 months, which doesn't mean anything after 8 years, or 4 years, or 8 years, for that matter. So it is unhelpful, it's a myth, and it means absolutely nothing. As most myths actually mean nothing. So if you're one of those fence sitters and you think about, well, let's see, do the actual homework, go the full distance to find out what the answer is. I'm sure if one party had an edge, they would have shouted it from the rooftops long before now, wouldn't they? I would think so. Um, so let's put the myths aside, actually dust off our brains, do some critical thinking, which is difficult for some people, I know. But we have to listen to what's being said, listen to what's not being said, and then make an informed decision when we go to the ballot box. Okay? I'm not going to tell you which way to vote because you're going to make up your own mind. And it may be quite different from the way I vote, and that's okay. That's your right. Just remember that we live in a democracy. We all get our say, and the majority wins. Period. That's it. Might be not as much fun as standing 2 feet away from, your brother, a cousin, whatever, and calling him a dirty name because he disagrees with you. But okay, uh, let's forget the animosity and the name calling and all that stuff. That's just uncivilized, and it's meaningless because if you're following a myth, there's no basis in fact to support that myth. So I hope this helps you. I hope you take the time to sit down and listen to the rhetoric that comes out because there's going to be all kinds of rhetoric. And remember one thing, the market is affected by more than just who's the president or what party is in power. Okay? Was there a pandemic last year? Was there a recession last year? Did the president do things to try to, if there was, did the president try to do something to ameliorate the downturn? Or would he just ignore it and let it go on? What happened across the waters? Overseas? Is there a war or two going on anywhere? Did some company hit a big new technology? What companies are going to think more in terms of what companies are going to be successful going forward from this point? And remember, if you're a long-term investor, which I expect you to be, you're going to look for what's happening after the 4-year cycle rather than the 6-month cycle. There's a lot more meat in the 4 years than in 6 months. So let's worry about the 7/8 rather than the 1/8 and go from there. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'll be putting my contact information on screen momentarily. Come back next week for our next exciting adventure in investing. Until then, make every day a great day. Bye now.